talk about how I look for levels in charts. The last video I showed you how to use Coinalyze, how to rank coins based on change in open interest or volume. Sometimes I look at volatility and percentage of change. Sometimes, like, I'll just hear something or see something and I'll look at a chart. So this morning, I was just scrolling through Twitter. I saw a post by Astekz about mask, and he basically said he was looking for it to move down to $3 based on a trend line. And after I record it, I'll go ahead and put uh, a link to his post. I honestly didn't look at his chart all that close. I think that's important because sometimes when you look at stuff, it really skews your perspective. Um, so what I do is I go and look at the chart. I start with a daily, and I'm not really sure, honestly, how he drew this trend line, because I'm not really sure how I want to draw it. I probably should have thought about this before I started recording. Um, so some people say you do the wicks, some people only do the bodies. Honestly, I don't think that you really have to do anything specific. I look at a chart and I say, okay, well, what makes the most amount of sense here, right? And like you'll end up with a bunch of people that have a bunch of different um, lines, and you can't really tell what's what, right? You don't want to do that. It's just not. It's not really worth it. But you can kind of see right here. You're really looking at one of these two levels. So um, I zoom out and I look at the volume, and I can immediately see uh, it's filled. It's filled this volume gap right here, right? And so for me, like that's a much bigger level. So I'm looking at that. So it's already made a move down, right? You want it to keep uh, probably, let's see. And so what I'm doing here is like I've got this area right here, right? I've got this wick. I've got, I'm sure if I zoom in, I'll see a lot more touches here. But I'm looking at where the volume dropped off, where people stopped trading it, where you're going to see these bigger moves. Trading in between here is not what you want to do. You want to go level to level, right? Um, but I've got these two levels right here. So I'm either going to bounce here and head back up to this area, this um, kind of volume area right there, right? Or I'm going to lose this support, and it could get choppy here, right? Because it's got a lot of history here. But he's only looking for a move to three. He's not looking for, it's not like he's looking for a plummet. He's looking to test this. I would say it's probably closer uh, to here. Yeah. To 2.8, 2.9 level. Um, so I don't necessarily have a clear trigger. I'm not really super fond of this level as a trigger. I don't generally trade trend lines that much, but I like to have them because that's what people look at. I'm going to look at the fibs. All right, so on the fibs, this is the bigger move, and what you can do is kind of do that, right? And then I'm actually sometimes it's harder, right? So what do we have? All right, we got a bunch of we've got this golden pocket, this here, we've got this area. I think it's pretty clear though. Like if you look at um, this move, right? It this level right here is a 61, 62% retrace of this larger move up. Um, and honestly, I like this. I like this one. So what I'm looking for here is, and sorry, I apologize. It's not very organized. I'm doing this on the fly because I want to show you guys how I process this stuff in real time. And I want to try and see what I'm seeing, right? Like, I, a lot of times I just kind of look at these things and I can see, but like this is a lower high, and sometimes you just have to draw the line to make sure, right? I don't draw the line um, because I don't need to, because I can just see it. But even if you look at the wicks, if you look at the bodies, you can see that the the bulk of this peak was definitely higher on this first run up. So to me, I see weakness. I think it goes lower. I'm not going to enter here. There's just no real entry there. Uh, so it just doesn't necessarily make sense to enter where it's at. So now I've got some horizontal levels. I've got this zone over here, which to me, if it comes back up, I will short that. It's an easy invalidation. If we break up, I close it and try a long. But that's a short area for me. And essentially, what I'm looking for here is a loss of this level. I think if we do something like this, then you're really looking at, you got to watch this 3.1. So I'd be looking at um, something along these lines, right? Uh, so TP1 would be, uh, I mean, geez, that's almost a 3.5% move, with potentially a you know 11-10% move. So I'm really looking at something like this, and it might be easier if I zoom in. Right. So essentially, what I'm looking for then would be a move either up to here and short it down, or some weakness, some chop, and then short it down, right? And when you look at these things, I've already noticed there's a significant level at like 3.1. So what I would do here is, let's see, entry would be somewhere around here maybe, and validation would be somewhere around there. So if I was going to take a lower leverage position, you know, if you did a 5x, you're looking at uh, a, a, a decent amount of space. I mean, 2% validation is not something that I normally would take. I'm more likely to go slightly higher leverage, cut it if it's not going my way, and then just look for another entry. Um, but this is essentially what you're looking at. And I would really, really want to make sure that I took profit, significant profit before 3.1. Again, go back out. that area right there. And it's important that you kind of figure out a system for yourself, right? Because you don't want to, you want to understand what it is that you're doing. So what I've just done is I've made a plan. I know when these things happen that I enter, or at least I look for an entry. Nope, cancel that. And again, like I understand this video is kind of dragging on, um, but I want to make sure that you guys understand how I process this stuff because uh, looking at a chart that somebody posted, even if it's me, it is not necessarily the best way to trade. You want to make sure you look at your analysis. I really like what Astekz is saying. Obviously, I've gone a lot more in depth. I'm sure he looked at it a lot more before he posted it. He has his reasons, but essentially, we've got an upward trend. We've got a series of higher lows. I think once we make a lower low, which would, for me would be this trend line, market structure is broken. You want to short it down. And if I was really, really keen on seeing a significant drop, I would look for this area down here. Uh, I'm not going to mark that, but I would look for this area down here. For me, I think getting into this 3.1, 3.2, nice TP move. Once I get to this level, I'd move my stops and then try to see if I can catch a move down to 3 or even 2.9. So I really like his idea. This is how I've done it. You can see that I've coded. I've got a TP which is dashed. I've got my regular levels. I've got this box, which is what I would consider, some people call it supply and demand. It's just an area where I know that if we go back up, there's going to be significant interactions between buyers and sellers. And I've just delineated it. I've set 3 alerts. I've got an alert for an entry into this area. I've got an alert for a loss of this level. And I've got an alert for this TP just in case, because if I don't get this entry and it comes down here, it may give me a bounce or it may be another short entry. So that's how I do it. Sometimes I just look at it. Sometimes I just go through and you know I'll be looking at mask and I'll just scroll through charts just randomly and see what catches my eye. Oh, that would have been a nice trade. I posted that on the Discord. Uh, Once you lost that channel, it should be good. Now it's got this little support area right here, so I would expect it to test a little bit lower before bounce. But yeah, I just kind of scroll through and see what looks interesting, and I almost always do it on a daily